Joshua and the walls of Jericho, a journey of faith. The sun rose over the Jordan River, casting golden light across the waters that separated the Israelites from their destiny. Joshua stood at the edge of the promised land, his heart filled with both hope and the weight of leadership. Moses, his beloved teacher and mentor, had passed away, and now the responsibility of leading God's people rested upon Joshua's shoulders. God's voice came to him, strong and reassuring. "Be strong and courageous, for you will lead this people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." These words would sustain Joshua through the trials ahead. The Israelites had wandered for 40 years in the wilderness, learning to trust God completely. Now, finally, the moment had arrived to claim what God had promised. But between them and their inheritance stood a formidable obstacle: the ancient city of Jericho, with its massive stone walls rising toward the heavens. These were no ordinary walls. They were so thick that houses were built upon them, so tall they cast long shadows across the land. The city had never been conquered, never been breached. It sat like a locked gate barring entrance to the promised land, and by human estimation, it was impregnable. Joshua sent 2 spies into the city to assess its defenses. They found refuge in the home of Rahab, a woman whose faith would shine brightly. She hid them from the king's soldiers, sending the pursuers away on a false trail. When the danger passed, Rahab spoke words that revealed God's hand already at work. "I know that the Lord has given you this land. We have heard how he dried up the Red Sea and defeated mighty kings. Our hearts have melted in fear, because the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below." The spies, moved by her faith, made a covenant with her. "Tie this scarlet cord in your window. Gather your family inside your house, and we will spare everyone within." Rahab agreed, her heart filled with hope. When the spies returned to Joshua, they brought encouraging news. "The Lord has surely given the whole land into our hands. All the people are melting in fear because of us." Joshua waited for God's battle plan. What came next defied all military logic. There would be no siege towers, no battering rams, no conventional warfare. Instead, God gave instructions that seemed utterly strange. "March around the city once a day for 6 days," God commanded. "Have 7 priests carry ram's horns before the Ark of the Covenant. Keep the people silent. No war cry, no shouting, not a word until I tell you to shout." And so began the strangest military campaign in history. Each morning, the Israelite army assembled in perfect order. The armed guard led the way, followed by 7 priests carrying shofars, ram's horns that would sound the call of God. Behind them came the Ark of the Covenant, representing God's presence among his people. The rear guard followed, protecting the ark. In absolute silence, except for the haunting blasts of the shofars, they marched around Jericho. The people of the city watched from their great walls, perhaps mocking, perhaps confused, perhaps trembling with fear. Day after day, the same ritual. The Israelites would complete their circuit and return to camp without speaking a word. This was a test of obedience. Warriors accustomed to battle cries now walked in silence. People who might have questioned the strategy held their tongues. Faith meant trusting God's ways, even when they made no earthly sense. 6 days passed. Then came the 7th day, the day of completion. Joshua roused the people before dawn, and they began to march. But this time they did not stop after one circuit. Around the city they went a second time, then a third, then a fourth. 7 times they circled Jericho, their sandals wearing paths in the dust, the ram's horns echoing off the ancient stones. After the 7th circuit, the priests gave one long, sustained blast on their shofars, a sound that trembled with promise. Joshua's voice rang out, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The people shouted, a tremendous roar of faith, of obedience, of victory claimed before it was seen. The sound rose to the heavens like thunder. Then the miracle happened. The great walls of Jericho, began to tremble and shake. Stone ground against stone with terrible groaning. And then, with a thunderous roar, the walls collapsed, falling flat to the ground. The impossible had become reality through faith and obedience. The Israelites rushed forward into the city. In the midst of victory, the two spies remembered their promise. They found Rahab's house, still standing, marked by the scarlet cord. They brought her and her entire family to safety, honoring their covenant. The city was devoted to the Lord. Everything destroyed except the precious metals, which were placed in God's treasury. Where mighty walls once stood, only rubble remained. That day, Joshua and the Israelites learned a lesson that would echo through generations. Victory belongs to the Lord. The battle was won not by military might or human strength, but through simple, unwavering obedience to God's commands. When faith meets obedience, walls fall, and the impossible becomes possible. The God who parts seas and provides manna is the same God who brings down walls. Not by our power, but by His presence and our willingness to trust completely in His plan.